Good morning, dear Dharma friends. Sound? Yes. Yay. Well, what mood did you wake up in? I was a bit grumpy. Somewhat fitful night. Certainly is good to be forced to come and meditate with you. Oh dear, sense of humor's coming back. That's good. It's the 17th, I think. I should check. Oriented as to date, 17th of August. We're on the downhill side of August. But here's an inspiring poem to help us have a good attitude today. A wholesome attitude. This is a poem, I have it as anonymous. I don't even know where it came into my poetry collection from. It's called Betrayal and Disappointment. As we grow up, we learn that even the one person that wasn't supposed to ever let you down probably will. You will have your heart broken probably more than once, and it's harder every time. You'll break hearts too, so remember how it felt when yours was broken. You'll fight with your best friend. You'll blame a new love for things an old one did. You'll cry because time is passing too fast, and you'll eventually lose someone you love. So, take too many pictures. Laugh too much. Love like you've never been hurt. Every 60 seconds you spend upset is a minute of happiness you'll never get back. Don't be afraid that your life will end. Be afraid that it will never begin. As we grow up, we learn that even the one person that wasn't supposed to ever let you down probably will. You will have your heart broken probably more than once, and it's harder every time. You'll break hearts too, so remember how it felt when yours was broken. You'll fight with your best friend. You'll blame a new love for things an old one did. You'll cry because time is passing too fast. And you'll eventually lose someone you love. So take too many pictures. Laugh too much. Love like you've never been hurt. Every 60 seconds you spend upset is a minute of happiness you'll never get back. Don't be afraid that your life will end. Be afraid that it will never begin. That's a catchy couple of lines it ends with, isn't it? Don't be afraid your life will end. Be afraid it will never begin. So, a familiar ritual. In what shall I take refuge today? The day itself is totally unpredictable. Like the mood one wakes up in. We have our plans for today, but who knows if they'll come to pass. Please join me if you wish. I take refuge in the Buddha, the one who shows me the way in this life. Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya, Namo Buddhaya. I take refuge in the Dharma, the way of understanding and love. Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya, Namo Dharmaya. I take refuge in the Sangha, the community of mindful harmony. Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya, Namo Sangaya. Just in case anyone has stumbled upon us, I'm Robert Beatty. I'm speaking to you from Portland, Oregon, the Portland Insight Meditation Community, in this beautiful little house that this community we sit with built as a broadcast center during COVID-19. You can find out a great deal about PIMC at portlandinsight.org, and also my brand spanking new robertbeatty.com has a lot of really fine information. So, let's do the simplest, most powerful ritual we possibly can. Let's stop. Let's just be here. Let's notice the aliveness in this body. Where is that which you take to be your body the most alive right now? Is it the hands? Is it the face? Is there anywhere in the face that's holding itself tight? If so, anytime you discover anything that's held tight, that's under volitional control, why not just release it? Why spend a moment in tension that you don't have to? It's become clear to me that awakening is really all about relaxation. Having a self requires lots of tension, lots of opinions, lots of holding, lots of controlling. And recognizing that we are that which was here before this self, that which is unnameable, is all about relaxation. Nothing to defend, nothing to achieve. And one strategy for coming into the present moment is to use mindfulness of in-breathing and out-breathing as a home base. And there's this miracle of awareness that notices when the mind wanders, which creates the possibility of returning to in-breathing and out-breathing. To the sensations that arise. The waking up is spontaneous, isn't it? We can set the intention, I intend to interrupt the wandering mind whenever possible. And then the mind wanders. It wanders into desire, craving, into aversion and disliking. It wanders into restlessness and agitation and sloth and torpor, dullness. It wanders into doubt, dispiritedness, depression. It wanders into all of our emotions, the past and the future fantasies that we have. And somehow, miraculously, mindfulness awakens in the midst of anything and everything. And in that awakening, we are free from the trance of everyday life. We are that which knows. We are the Buddha. So let us abide with great gratitude and ease in the present moment, in this breath, and in whatever else arises. And along the way, we notice that everything is beginning and ending. Beginning and ending. Anicca. Our practice is one of living in the present moment. Which requires beginning again and again and again. Don't be dismayed if the mind wanders a lot. Some of what we experience is simply unpleasant or painful. Dukkha, disappointing. We bring mindfulness and curiosity and concentration and effort and joy to this situation that we find ourselves in, which is human life. And so we come home with what's called bare attention. Very simple attention to the sensations that arise with in-breathing and out-breathing. Some thoughts come as images, pictures. Others as words. One giant class of thoughts are those that we call the past, what we call memories, which are constructions in the present moment from prior conditioning. Another great class are thoughts of the future, fantasies, from which come hopes and fears. For the purpose of our practice, for freedom, we see them as thoughts. Their contents are of no importance during this time of practice. They're just thoughts. And if pleasure arises, pleasureful sensations in the body or pleasure in the mind, the sense of ease, don't hesitate to enjoy the pleasure. Notice it for what it is. In that second foundation of mindfulness, there's pleasant sensations, unpleasant sensations, and many neutral or non-decided. Why not consciously delight in the pleasant? Recognizing it too is impermanent, but it's as real as anything else. And we can help ourselves in practice with that attitudinal statement, I aspire to love myself, to accept myself, to accept this that I take to be myself, with all its experiences. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am in this moment. Whew, what a relief. When I'm hurting, no matter how I'm hurting, it is my intention to hold myself in sweet compassion. And how would it be to carry these intentions through the day? To remember before putting bread in the toaster or before picking up your tools to dig a trench. Or before getting in the car. Before, during bathing, sitting at the computer, whatever you do today, I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am. And when I'm hurting, no matter how I'm hurting, physically, emotionally, existentially. I aspire to hold myself in sweet compassion. And we are, of course, not alone on the planet. There will be others with whom you interact today. What if you shared this or extended this intention to the person who lives in your home with you or someone you interact with otherwise? I aspire to love and accept this person exactly as they are, too. And when they're hurting, my intention is to be as compassionate as I can. So in a way, this is a loving kindness and compassion intention, which then we can operationalize in relationships. And we can, with the intensity of the heart, at the speed of thought, hold this intention toward all humans, without exception. All of us who live with the delusion of separate identity. And very simply, on the in-breath, we could wish ourselves well. May I be happy today. May I be content. May I be compassionate. And then on the out-breath, and so may it be for all beings. May all beings be free from fear and danger. May they live with ease and grace. May all beings be liberated. And now let's open the scope of our capacity even more and include our fellow journeyers in life who live in the air, who live in the trees, squirrels in their nests, bats in their caves, the deer in the forests, the wolves, the elk, the small furry creatures, the birds of all kinds, the creatures of the underneath the earth, the worms, the bugs, and those who swim in the waters. I just thought of the platypus. May all platypi be happy today. And so it comes now to the time of ending this period of stopping, of inwardness. So please take another moment to embrace your body, this body. To notice how remarkably alive it is. It is nothing but life. And now bringing awareness into the region of the eyes. Let them relax completely. Let them move in their beautiful orbits like with great ease. Notice how smooth it is. And then making the intention to lift the eyelids and then seeing. And then you will see someone, perhaps. Wish them well. There is something we can do with our intention. We can get beyond some of our neurotic self-defensiveness simply with the intention, I see this person and I know, I may not know them at all other than from here online, but I know they want and need to be loved. And I'm going to put a picture up now if it works. From the garden. Is that not mysterious and miraculous? I've never grown cabbage before. And there it is. Lots of the tomatoes are just hit. The beginning of the tomato tsunami is upon us. And also at the bottom of the picture is a gorgeous new knife. One of my students named Keith is a chef, and we were talking about knives, and he said, I'll tell you what to get. And this is a Japanese shun knife. I have never handled anything so sharp. Quite remarkable. It made making coleslaw really pleasant. So here we are, between the garden and life. It's another day. The sun has come over the house, flooding in here. If I lean back on my rocker, I can be out of it. What's the time? I guess I will do this one, maybe two shares with you if I can find them. Here it is. Here's one of them. Will it work? Ta-da! Yes, I think it did. So this is the digest, the PIMC digest, and with some information.
Again, Robert, didn't come through.
You're not getting it? Huh. Dang technology. Let me try it here. What you got now?
Waiting.
Oh, well.
It started screen sharing, but it doesn't say anything.
I give up. I just paint a word picture. There's some classes coming up in September. I'm doing the Eightfold Path, a 9-session class on that. And Doyle is doing nonviolent communication, and Doug Pullen is doing basics of mindfulness. They will be wonderful. Kate is teaching on Friday nights now, routinely, and too bad I can't show you the pictures. They're lovely. And Candle is teaching on Sunday nights, twice a month, starting on September the 6th. So, other than that, how are you? What's happening? Do you have questions or something to share with this community? All you need to do is to unmute. Oh, before we do that, Had, are you there? I haven't seen you. There you are. Did you want to do that announcement, Had? Is this the moment?
A brief announcement. I've just put up a website. I am an individual who got into a serious auto accident 42 years ago, and 32 years ago I discovered the Dharma practice with Jack Kornfield down at Spirit Rock, and then I moved to Oregon, and Jack introduced me to Robert, and I've been practicing for 32 years now, and I just put a website together called Gold Mind, M-I-N-D, goldmindmeditation.com, and I'm intentionally introducing people to mindfulness meditation practice for brain injury folks and aging. If anyone's aging, it's useful for that too. So that's what I wanted to announce. goldmindmeditation.com. Go have a look at it. And please contact me if you have any concerns or communications from me. That's it.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, Had. The website's lovely, too. Okay. What's happening out there in your hearts and minds? In this time of COVID-19, what a weird time.
Robert, this is Jim in his basement. I've got a burning question.
You're indoors. Be careful.
Are you ready? Now, the 5 hindrances, the desire and the aversion, or the liking or the disliking, it seems like both of them kind of start off with a judgment part. And you said a lot about liking and not liking, but you haven't said much about the judging part. And I'm wondering where that fits in. Do we just, is it possible to just discard the judgment part and then you don't have to worry about the liking or disliking, or where does it fit into the whole thing? If you've talked about it, I missed that chapter.
Well, it's Vedana, pleasant and unpleasant, and indeterminate or neutral, is the second foundation of mindfulness, just as a review here. And the notion is that with each sense contact, a visual object and the eye, auditory object and the ear, and so on, mind object and the mind, there is an intrinsic conditioned response which is either pleasant, unpleasant, or not determined. There's no judgment. Judgment comes later. Judgment is perhaps a cognitive function, but like if you put your hand into a fire, there's an immediate disliking and reaction. Similar to if you're hungry and the smell of food drifts by your nose, there's an immediate pleasant, and it's observing at that bit with bare attention at that level that the second foundation of mindfulness is all about. There's liking and disliking that we make judgments about, and there's conditioned opinions about things, but that's a different process than the very basic liking disliking that comes with Vedana. And it's true that if we can rein in the judgment, then we can be free of suffering from whatever that is, because it's like, oh, there's that. And even observing the judgment without judgment is a relief. It's like, oh, here's this mind judging. Yep, it sure is judgmental, which is very different from I sure am judgmental. Make any sense?
I think I need to study it a little bit more. It seems like it's a bigger topic than I had thought.
Oh, they always are. Either that, or they're so minor and simple, it's not worth worrying about them.
Robert?
I'll get back.
Jim.
Robert, this is Jim Dalton. I've been listening to this, and it seems like there's 2 categories that we're talking about, and maybe that would be helpful to point out. That the hindrances is one category, and the foundations of mindfulness is a whole other category of teaching. And hindrances are involved in the selfing process and comparing and using mental qualities, and the foundations are very simple with the feeling. So when we get trapped by hindrance, it's usually much more complicated than a simple feeling. And, I don't know if that helps, Jim.
Yeah, I think you're right. It turns into papancha, mental proliferation, and it gets very complex. a suggestion in the periods of sitting as we are now. Notice, are you waiting? Are you waiting for someone to speak? If you are, then see if you can relinquish the waiting. As Ruth put it, Dalink, once you have the Dharma, you never need to wait again. You can always attend. There's always something to attend to. Now that's a change in life, that no more waiting. Phew. So how do we become interested in whatever's happening now?
Robert and Songa, this is Denise. And I had two things I was thinking of. And one, I was thinking of the movie Spaceballs, when they fast forward to now, and they are like trying to get in the movie to now. When's now? It's now. And they're watching now. And I just kept thinking about how, the word now, everything is now. And so that kind of brought me to like a happier spot. But then it also reminded me when we were on retreat. It was a silent retreat at Brighton Bush, but a family was there, so they were not silent. And there was a small child that was like 5, and she was talking to her mom about the day, and she just looked at her mom and she said, "How long is today?"
That's a good koan, isn't it? How long is today?
So oddly now, Rick Moranis is in my head going, now, as kind of like bringing me back to now.
Mm-hmm. Fun. Thank you.
Robert, this is Meg.
Hello, Meg.
Hi.
You're sitting outdoors. How beautiful.
I am. It's so lovely. And that was actually going to motivate my question, which is I'm usually sitting inside where there's very little to concentrate on besides my breath. I don't have a lot of other sensations coming. And sitting outside today is so beautiful, and I'm feeling a breeze and the sunlight and the sounds of nature. There was a hummingbird that actually came through. I opened my eyes because I heard the wings. It was stunning. And I found, though, sitting, that my mind was jumping around a little because it was, oh, sound, oh, sensation, oh, breathing. And I didn't know if you had any recommendations, like, should one try and sit with sound and kind of let the others pass through, or sit with breath, sort of try and concentrate more, or let everything come? I don't know. I found myself sort of feeling the distracted mind. All these pleasant sensations. It was lovely. I didn't feel concentrated.
Well, you get to choose. You might be sitting there in the sunshine, and the sun might feel very warm on your arms or your forehead, and it might be very pleasant. In which case, you could just dive into that pleasant feeling of warmth on your body and feel it as warmth. Just notice it, and then when the mind wanders, come back to that. Or there might be a great practice for outdoors is to sit with sound and to notice how sound arises from here or there, and how the mind then makes a meaning of it. Oh, that's a hummingbird. Oh, I like hummingbirds, and I wonder, the males are this color, and the mind can quickly do all that stuff. But we can choose a sense door or an experience and stay with that very gently, stay with that for some time, and then you'll notice that the mind gets bored with that and it jumps onto something else. And then we can exert a little discipline and say, for this time of sitting here, I am going to pay attention only to sound. And then when that becomes difficult, I will still stay listening to sound. And something that I like to do is to notice from what direction comes the sound. We're our ears are very, very attuned. If a sound is coming from over there to my right, the sound gets to my right ear a little sooner than it does to the left ear, and it somehow or another interprets that. And if you can try, you can just point at where a sound is coming from, and you'll be within a degree or two. That had great survival value. Interestingly, this is little factoids. We don't have the same skill up and down because the ears are at the same level, and so if we ever get into PIMC again. If you look, there's a large, very heavy speaker right over where I sit, which I hope those 3 chains are really solid, which I know they are. But that's right over the speaker because people in the room mistake the sound to be coming from the speaker's mouth. You couldn't do that with a speaker off to the side; it wouldn't work. So you can be playful with sounds outdoors. And just enjoy. And it's one of the things that when we learn how to practice in this fashion that I'm speaking about, life becomes much more interesting. Oh, so there's a sound. Oh, liking, disliking. And then a jackhammer starts. It's like, oh, I don't like that sound. So, yeah, you can have lots of fun with it. And if the mind is fairly stable, I think I talked about this yesterday, if the mind is stable and the centrifugal forces and the centripetal forces, the out and in, are balanced, you can also just sit in choiceless awareness and watch a sound, a thought, a feeling. Just watch the show. But for that, the mind has to be pretty stable. Oh, and one more thing. You could also experiment with, I'm going to stay with the breath, and I'm not going to pay attention to anything else, and see what happens with that. Gently.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. The Buddha did, interestingly, awaken under a tree outdoors, which is kind of interesting, I think. And one of his antidotes was, if your mind is really out of control and unhappy and so on, be outdoors. Kind of nice for those of us that have the outdoors close enough to get to. Hello, Wally. You're very dim, sound-wise.
Oh, very dim sound-wise. Let's see. I got these headphones on. Maybe I should turn them. Am I better?
No.
No?
No. Maybe it's good enough, Wally. Maybe just get a little closer to your computer.
All right. Last night on 60 Minutes, they had a episode on people using psilocybin to deal with mental issues under controlled conditions. And what was really striking was that almost all of them talked about how it took them into the now and realizing that only now is important. And that's what really helped them address depression, address drug addiction, address alcoholism, and various other maladies. And you can probably find it on 60 Minutes or CBS.com under 60 Minutes to see the episode. But it's not really that. I mean, it's that people finding that the now, living in the now, was the key, really, to finding their mental health. And we just do it a different way here.
Uh-huh.
So that's what I wanted to.
Thanks, Wally. It was loud enough. I could hear you fine.
Okay, I upped the volume. Okay, thanks for letting me know.
Robert, it's Dave. I've actually had some experience with that psilocybin therapy. It's very powerful, and the FDA is very close to approving it for mainstream therapy. There's a whole website, maps.com, I believe is what it is, and they were doing. There's a neurophysiologist or something like that in England who's been doing studies in MRI studies on comparing long-term meditators to those using psilocybin and finding that the MRI images are quite similar. There's a Johns Hopkins study that was actually doing clinical studies between long-term meditators. I hadn't meditated long enough to qualify, unfortunately, and on psilocybin. It's a very powerful therapy. I've benefited from it a lot.
Yay for anything that works.
Yes.
Life is hard enough. We need anything that works.
Oh, and I guess on what you were talking about with sound, I do that a lot with your guided meditations. When I'm having trouble finding the breath or stabilizing with the breath, I'll go with the bare attention to your voice and attending to the fricatives and the vowels, the bare sensations of your sound, and then watching in other parts of the brain as maybe the picture of the word or meaning shows up, and how many different places in the brain, if I stay with just the raw sound coming out of your mouth, it's interesting how not very far into a word my brain picks up on the word.
Mm-hmm.
Like you say outdoors, and somewhere in the middle of "au" that I get it.
Mm-hmm.
It's fascinating to watch, but it is when I'm having trouble with my breath and your voice is right there. I settle into the sounds of the voice.
Lots of mindfulness, right, in all that too. Yep.
Hey, Robert, this is Vic.
Hey, Vic.
Hey. I was thinking about the liking, disliking, and indeterminate. And I've often found that those are not unrelated sensations. Liking and disliking often seem to be two sides of the same coin. When there's liking, there's this aversion that comes up of losing the liking. When the disliking happens, there is the liking of wanting that to go away.
Mm-hmm.
And even with indeterminate boredom, there's a certain kind of boredom which, when the mind is very busy, there's a pleasant feeling of not having busyness.
Not having what?
Not having a busy mind.
Oh, yeah.
And when there's the true boredom of, oh, I'm bored, there's a disliking that's happening. And so I find it very hard to tease apart these Vedanas. It seems like they're all very closely related. I wonder if that's true.
I think my experience is that when there is unpleasant, it's just unpleasant, and then there can be thinking about it, and that's a step or two further in. But with a quiet mind and concentration, let's say the example of the pleasant sensation that then one fears it's going to go away, and you start calculating, how can I get this to happen again? Those are different processes. The pleasure is pleasant. The pleasure is pleasant, and then the mind, very quickly, of course, in a split second, But then there can be the how can I get this again? But that's happening in a different channel, which is thinking. So I think the more concentrated one is, the more these will differentiate themselves.
Thank you.
Well, we're after 8. Oh my goodness, 8:05. Is there anything that someone is sitting with that would be important to share? Or just that you want to share? Let's not put some bar. Only important sharing can be done. Well, I think it's time to sing. I see one little person there. I'm going to unmute and then let's sing together. Unmute all. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. May all beings be happy. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Beings, bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for a lovely morning, everybody. Adios, friends. Clicking the red button over here. Bye-bye. Goodbye, dear friends on Facebook and YouTube. Looks to me like that all worked today. Have a fine, mindful day.